Yeah, hello, Sister Josephine.
Yes, hi Mawan, how are you?
How are you? Long time.
I know, long time
When are you
indeed.
coming to London?
Soon actually.
Would be
I'm
very
just
good.
waiting to get my second job soon, probably tomorrow. And then after that I'll be free to travel.
Okay, it would be nice to see you when you come.
Yeah, I've been away for over 1.5 years, so I'm
That's
actually
a very
beginning
long
to
time.
to miss London as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, there'll be a
Yeah.
lot of people who will be pleased to see you. Welcome to RBC TV, Honourable Josephine. It's really great to have you because we've been trying for a while. You've been trying as well, but schedule has not allowed us. So you're very welcome to this interview.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we go through the questions. Uh, uh, what is the state of food security in the country at the moment?
Okay, thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk a little bit about the ministry and the state of food security and agriculture in the country. At the moment, in fact, the status of the food security is not very encouraging. The latest IPC report puts our country at level 3 and level 4.
You
There are
said
five levels.
RBC report. Can
IPC
you expand on
IPC
that?
report. This is the annual report that collects information and data about the status of food security in the country.
Okay, who produces this report?
This is a multi agency report. The Ministry
Okay.
of Agriculture is a partner to that. Other international organizations like World Food Program, the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and many others. The Ministry of Health is also a partner to that. The Ministry of Gender is also a partner in that. So it is a multi-sectoral body that looks at the data regarding food availability, food consumption, and food affordability, and all these aspects. And the report, this is last year's report, which is still the latest report, was not very encouraging. It puts our country to level 3 and level 4, which is, according to them, it's described as extremely food insecure, to some extent almost catastrophic, but just short of a famine situation. Yeah.
Uh, Minister, we've heard these reports from these agencies year on year, but and nothing has actually turned out to be a famine. What's happening? Because we've had two major famines in recent history, as you well know. 1988 and then 1998, and those were catastrophic. Are we having anything at that level now? I mean, what do these figures mean?
No, these figures mean that we are just short of that level of famine or famine declaration.
Okay.
The food security is not obviously very good. And, in general terms, what one can say is that the majority of our people, struggle to get even one decent meal a day.
Yes, but that's
Okay.
traditional. That's
Yeah,
traditional. Mm,
exactly. But
mm.
now also when you come to look at the quality of, the food that is accessible to them, then you need to go beyond quantity. Okay, you need to look at, whether the diet, is balanced, whether,
I see.
whether people have access to food, to fruits and vegetables, whether their meal actually contain, for instance, adequate protein, meat, fish, and poultry, and so forth and so forth. So when you look at
True.
all those dimensions, then you actually, can discover that actually people do not really have access to quality food, which is obviously a concern. The goal is to ensure that people have access to food, but also access to quality food, okay? So that we are not only just talking of having access to cereal, for instance, sorghum and maybe rice and cassava and what have you, but also to have, the elements of protein and vegetables and fruits, the total, balanced diet.
Exactly, as any person in the world has the right to have. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. What proportion of our people are dependent on food aid?
I obviously, again, sometimes we have to put these things into context.
Yes.
The country is just emerging out of crisis, out of insecurity. A great number of our people were displaced, and some are still even living in the, displaced camps, which means they're not able to produce food for themselves. They might have lost their, means of livelihood. And this, definitely, requires that actually they should have food assistance.
Yes.
So we can say that maybe 40 to 50% of our population, require food assistance
Yes.
because of the situation.
Which is
Yeah,
terrible.
I think
Which is absolutely
the
terrible.
figure is roughly 50%.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. What assistance then, if any, is the government now giving to our people, our farmers, in this growing season?
Okay. The government is working very, very closely with our development partners like FAO, which is the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, World Food Program, the World Bank, and others to ensure that at least this year we don't miss this cultivation season. We don't miss this cultivation season, that indeed farmers are enabled, farmers are assisted to, to cultivate this season. And what are we doing to enable that? Yes, in collaboration with our partners, farmers are being given agricultural inputs, so seeds, agricultural implements, and whatever that they need, to cultivate, they're being assisted to have access to that. So government is not doing this on its own. Government is working in collaboration with our partners, and especially this is the case with the small scale farmers. And of course,
Yes.
majority of our farmers are small scale farmers. They cultivate maybe 2 fedans per household, per family. And because of the war, obviously they have been displaced, and some of them lost, means of livelihood. So in this case, they do need to be supported, and they are being supported. We also have the other categories of farmers who are large-scale farmers, and these are farmers who are operating mainly in the northern part of our country, farmers in the national scheme, such as the rank mechanized scheme, and farmers in Awil rice scheme. This level of farmers are being given, in addition to providing them with seeds and implements, they're also being given fuel. Okay, and recently I was in Awil, and I had this concern directly from the farmers myself, and we have come and worked very, very hard in the ministry. And recently they have been provided with fuel, okay, so that they can operate their tractors that are still operational to enable them to cultivate this agriculture season. And so that is being given, fuel as well as lubricants for their tractors. and so forth and so forth. And of course, in addition to this, there will be continuous support for farmers as and when they need it. There will be support with agricultural extension services, support with land preparation, support with even weeding activities, support eventually with post-harvest activities, so that in all these processes, farmers don't lose their produce. So there's a lot of support activities to farmers, both from the government as well as our development partners.
About 90% of South Sudan's 6.4 million square kilometers is arable, making South Sudan a potential bread basket for Africa and the Middle East. So why have we failed to invest in this vital sector, the agricultural sector, since the war ended with the North back in 2005?
Yes, this is a very good question, and it is a very important question. And it is a question which, people are asking a lot. And it's a question which we in the ministry, as well as in the economic cluster in general, are asking. Why? In spite of all the agricultural potential we have in the country, in spite of the arable land we have, in spite of the fact that there is, somewhat sufficient rainfall in the country, and so forth and so forth. Why do we still have food insecurity? Why have we not invested in the development of the agricultural sector? And for me, now being in the ministry at least for about a year or so, I think some of the answers are beginning to get very, very clear indeed. And the first one to me is that, as a country, we have suffered from this, what is generally known as the oil curse syndrome. Okay, the syndrome of the oil curse, which has affected other countries like Nigeria and many others. Okay, I think we have found ourselves exactly in that situation, where because we had this, oil revenue, we as a country forgot to invest in alternative sources of revenue. We forgot to invest in the agriculture sector, which should actually be the engine of economic growth and development in the country. We forgot that. We forgot that because, we had the money. We had the oil money. So when we had the oil money, we didn't think of, a plan B. So we focus, exclusively on the use of the oil money, reliance on oil revenue. This, for me, is the first reason why we have failed to invest in agriculture. The second reason is obviously, unfortunately, just 2 years after independence, the country descended into insecurity. The country descended into civil war. And naturally, when there is civil war, there is insecurity. You cannot focus on development of agriculture. You can't, focus on diversification of the economy. And this is what has happened. This is why we have not been able to invest in agriculture. Thirdly, I think in addition to the first two reasons, somehow, government has also not really been sufficiently funding the agriculture sector. When I look at the, budget and the funds that came through to the Ministry of Agriculture over the last 3-4 years, you find that maybe just 1% of the total budget allocation to the ministry came through. Okay, now that is really abysmal, less than 1%. There is practically nothing much you can do with that sort of money, apart from maybe payment of salaries. Okay, So insufficient funding to the agriculture sector. And I think also, fourthly, maybe really lack of general, awareness about the importance of the agriculture sector. People don't, consider, agriculture as an honorable, career, as an honorable, industry. And I think we need to reverse this. And this is what we are now beginning to do in the ministry. We want to refocus our people. We want to encourage our people that, look, you know what, agriculture is important and it is a noble profession. And as a country, if we need to get out of this business of food insecurity, we have really no option but to start investing in agriculture, to start diversifying the economy, to start adding value even to agricultural produce. Okay, if you look at, for instance, sesame, which is one of the main primary crop in the country. Okay, sesame, and then also groundnuts and what have you. These are products that we can add value to as a country. We add value to it. Instead of selling raw simsim or groundnuts, we can turn these products into oil. Okay, and you and I know that vegetable oil is really now a premium is in premium demand, and especially in the Western country, vegetable oil. So we have these oil with products that we can actually add value to, and we can also add value to many others like maize, sorghum. Instead of selling these as oil, maize, we can turn them into flour and market this and sell them, even to international market in the future, so that the country can also gain and benefit and hard currency from our agricultural products. Okay, but at the moment, this sector is underdeveloped. So, but there's the potential, not just even to increase our agricultural production, but there's the potential also to start developing agri-businesses, agri-industry. And I believe this is the sector which is actually going to create a lot of jobs, especially for the younger people. I believe younger people don't want to dirty their hands. They don't want to go down and cultivate. But if we bring in, processing, machines, we start processing, food products, they will be interested in getting involved in, processing, food items. So this is an area which clearly we need to look at very, very carefully and start developing it so that we can diversify our economy.
We have a lot of questions, and we're gonna make them shorter if possible, the answers. But yes, I know you have to do them justice, so it's a matter of a balance. Has Minister Josephine been able to argue? You mentioned a very important factor that agriculture is only allocated almost just 1% of the entire national budget. Have you been able to fight for agriculture to get more?
Yes, we are fighting for agriculture to get more. In fact, we are not alone in this. There is what is called CADAP, where the African Union had made a declaration in 2003, okay, urging African countries, African governments to allocate 10% of their budgets to the agriculture sector, okay? This is a campaign that we are waging, and we are pleading with colleagues. We are, driving this message forward in the Council of Ministers, so that agriculture is actually accorded what is due to it. We need to understand that as a country, we fall along the tropics, and in the tropical countries, agriculture is the backbone of the economy. If we have to develop agriculture, it will need funding. There's no way around it. We need to invest in agriculture. And so we are appealing to our government that the little oil money, okay, the little oil revenue, which is coming through, should really now be invested in agriculture. Should be invested in agriculture, so that, you know, in turn, in a few years' time, agriculture can start contributing to the gross domestic product. But before we start doing that, we need investment, and we are talking and we are pleading with the government. We are also, appealing to our development partners, you know, to not just focus on humanitarian activities, but also to now actually, pay attention to development activities such as development of the agriculture sector. So we are making that point, and we are making it very, very strongly.
Brilliant. Besides the arable land that we've spoken about and the potential for a huge crop production, South Sudan also has potential, a huge animal resources. So South Sudan has about 12 million head of cattle. That's just about the same number as people. There's 1 cow per person, if not more. And I read somewhere that there's even more sheep and goats, about 40 million sheep and goats. So these are extremely high figures by any international standard. But intercommunal fighting, conflicts, banditry, theft, civil war, and lack of access to markets. And when I talk about access to markets, I'm talking about the lack of efficient or just sufficient transport infrastructure, the lack of trade agreements where people might demand our meat or might demand our sesame. And this can stimulate and increase or increase the incentives of our people. So this is another area that has been hugely neglected. What is your information at the moment regarding the animal wealth and resources of the country?
Okay. In fact, the livestock portfolio lies with a separate ministry. There's a ministry for livestock.
Yeah, I understand, but I hope you have a coordination. You have some coordination between.
We have some coordination, and also we are, you know, in general terms, we are the agriculture sector. So we have coordination. Yes. We work together. We have the comprehensive agriculture master plan, which includes the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries. It includes the Ministry of Forestry and Environment, and also water resources and irrigation. So indeed, yes, we are talking, we are coordinating. What I can tell you is that yes, what you are saying is absolutely true. But unfortunately, I think currently most of our people, especially the pastoralists, they own cattle for social prestige rather than for commercial activities. Okay, and this is a mentality that needs to be changed, and I don't believe it can be changed overnight. But I think the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries is working very, very hard in this. From time to time, the minister talks about this. So I believe, once they get the message that, you don't only have to own cattle for social prestige, for marriages and what have you, to demonstrate wealth and what have you, but also actually you can turn it into a commercial enterprise. Indeed, we have, plenty of, livestock resources. In fact, if and when we commercialize, livestock production in this country, we'll be able to feed, people in the neighboring countries. Recently, well, not recently, but towards the end of last year, I visited, the Arab Republic of Egypt. In Egypt, they are self-sufficient in white meat, okay, in poultry, in fish, and what have you, but they lack and they need red meat, which only can be, produced in country, like ours. So we have ready markets. We have ready markets, not just in Egypt, but even, beyond. Okay, even in Sudan, they still need, red meat, and I believe, other neighboring countries also will need this product. But we need to slowly encourage our people, to turn to commercialize, livestock farming rather than keeping livestock for social prestige, which in the end also sometimes end up creating problems for us, intercommunal fight, cattle rustling, and, all this. I think that briefly, that is what I can, tell you about the livestock and fisheries. But the potential is there. The potential is there to turn, the livestock products into marketable commodities. We can market the beef. We can market the skins and hides. We can process milk into various other products like yogurt and cheese and what have you. And all this, can earn us, hard currency when we get this into the international market.
Thank you for that. As humanity faces climate change, South Sudan can choose to go the large-scale intensive agriculture route, just as Europe and North America have done. Or they can opt to develop a more sustainable system for our current existing organic and small holding base agriculture. Are these considerations something that the ministry is looking at, the government is looking at, as we look into the future? I.e., in simple terms, can we build from what we have already so that it's more sustainable than introduce intensive agriculture, fertilizers, etc., animal feed, hormones, and stuff like that? Can we stay traditional but be efficient still and develop our agriculture so that we can sustain it for generations to come?
Yes, this is again a very important question. At the moment, we have two categories of agriculture in the country. We have small scale farming, and we also have, large commercial farming like in Renk, and also potentially in Awil, and also other national, projects that we can, develop. The question whether, we can continue to hold on to small holdings and continue not to, to engage in organic, agriculture. From the information I get from our technical experts in the country and in the ministry here, this is not something that will be possible when we want to talk of large-scale farming. Any large-scale farming actually does involve an element of our, use of fertilizers and use of, what have you. So that is something which we may not be able to avoid if and when we really start going, industrial with our agriculture. But the smallholders who are at the moment, the majority farmers in the country, they can continue, to farm organically. The problem with farming organically is that, you are limited to the output of your products. So if we want to increase, production, ultimately we may have to also use, fertilizers that can improve the output of our farming. But I think there are safe, fertilizers and natural fertilizers, organic fertilizers, as well as, fertilizers that may be potentially harmful. And this is where the importance of our, technical people can come in, so that in the event that, farmers have to use fertilizers, we ensure that the fertilizers that they're using, fertilizers that are imported into the country, are safe to use.
Okay, it's obviously a wider subject that we can return to. But moving on, the government in recent years has invested in agricultural machinery. What's the state of the tractors now? Because they were widely covered at the time. To what extent are farmers using them across the country?
Yes, indeed, the government did invest in importing agricultural machinery such as tractors, and I think this has been done at least twice. But unfortunately, let us also remember that bringing in these machineries coincided with the insecurity in the country. Okay, 2012, 2013, 2016, and what have you. So the insecurity has completely undermined agricultural, expansion in the country. And secondly, these tractors, when they were brought, I'm now made to understand by our technical people in the ministry that these tractors actually came without implements. So they came without the hose, without the harrows, without whatever, implements, will be needed to fully utilize these tractors. So somehow, in layman's term or in layperson's term, you can say that the tractors just came like lorries, okay? But they have come without the implements for cultivation. So as a result, most of these tractors actually have not been used for the purposes for which they were procured. I think there are those that are available are being used for other purposes and so forth and so forth. So I think the problem for us as a country is that yes, it's important to invest in agricultural machineries, but equally it is important to ensure that people are prepared to use these machineries, that the machineries come with the necessary implements, that the machineries or the companies that are bringing in these machines also consider having service centers, because inevitably any machine will break down and do break down during the course of its lifetime. So, and this has happened. So this was a mistake that these, tractors were brought, and they were really not brought with the necessary, implements, and more so they have not established tractor service centers or tractor servicing center in the country. So when these, tractors break down, what's going to happen to them? And this is what has hampered actually the, effective use of these tractors that were brought. So our plan from now onward is that when we, opt for, importing tractors, we'll have to make sure that the companies that are providing these tractors also bring in the necessary tools that will be used to ensure that the machines are functioning. And secondly, we will demand that the necessary personnel are trained to use these tractors and use them well. And thirdly, that there are facilities for servicing the tractors if and when they break down. So it has to be comprehensive. It's just not sufficient just to bring tractors and then tractors that cannot actually be used to do what they're supposed to do. And I think that is what has happened in the past, and we are trying to correct that now.
It's encouraging that you are correcting this now. One obvious reason for these obvious mistakes is because we don't coordinate with people who already know. Do we try to coordinate with with partners, similar ministries, parallel ministries in neighboring countries, Uganda, Kenya, and Sudan, who have had done more of these things, so that we avoid mistakes that they have made, instead of making them ourselves again? As in this really sad case, because I guess these tractors are rotting somewhere in Juba, and nobody is thinking of maintaining them or restoring them or returning them back to service.
Mm. Yeah, the tractors were actually distributed to all the 10 states.
Okay.
And and then administrative area, which was Abyei. And indeed, most of them are in a state of disuse, or they're being used for other purposes, and that is a fact. Do we coordinate with other, countries that have more experience in this? Yes. In fact, last October, I went to Sudan, and in Sudan, we were able to visit one of the companies that produces agricultural machineries and implements and so forth and so forth. And they provide the whole package. Okay, so we have options. We have options to ensure that actually we bring in machineries that we can use, that we bring in machineries that, will have service, centers. We bring in machineries where our people can be trained to run those machineries in the country. We have this option. And we have, neighboring countries that are advanced, more advanced than us, like our northern, neighbor, which was our former country. Mechanized agriculture is more advanced in Sudan. It's the same with Egypt. I also visited Egypt in November, and we have really willing partners and friends of South Sudan who are willing to come and assist us with mechanizing our agriculture. And
so will we see development while you're here, Josephine? Will we be able to see development in this direction, in this specific situation regarding machinery? Is it something that's likely to happen? Is it in your budget?
Yes, it's something which is likely to happen, and it is going to happen because in the first place, before I joined the ministry, already steps were taken by the former minister to do just this, to bring in agricultural machineries, including tractors and what have you. And we are in the process now of following up that. But this time we want to have all the checks and balances in place to ensure that these tractors, when they come comprehensive in total, and that we will be able to have service centers and then train personnel to run and operate these machineries.
Thank you.
So the plan is there.
Thank you very much, Minister. It has been reported that production capacity is still keeping up in rank, the Northern Territory, as you've said. But produces are often exported to the north rather than distributed across South Sudan. Now that the civil war has ended, what is the unity government doing to ensure that South Sudan as a whole is benefiting from the increase in high production in the northern region?
Yes, indeed. We need to, as a country, benefit from the schemes in the northern part of our country. And it is also true that, most of the produce, were being exported to the north and beyond. But there are reasons for that. There are, structural reasons for that. I visited Rank in April and went to the schemes, and I saw some of the farms, met with the farmers and the local authority in Rank and what have you, just to have an understanding of what is really going on. One of the explanation that was given is that our government, the government of the Republic of South Sudan, since the country became independent, we have not invested or continued to invest, in the mechanized scheme in Rank. So at the moment, the investors in the scheme are northerners, the previous ones, or some of their agents. So inevitably, they invest in the scheme and they expect, to have, the profit. And that is what they're doing. So for us to stop that, we need also to invest. And then, cut off maybe the investors from the north, or at least have investors from the north as well as investors from the south. That is the only way to change, the balance of what is happening there.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much for the time you've given us, Minister Josephine. It's been brilliant. I'm just going to ask you a final question, which is just a more general question. With you, of course, you are a representative of one of the different political groups that are governing South Sudan in this unity government. We are pleased South Sudanese are absolutely exhilarated that now war is subsiding and our people, our leaders are coming together to govern the country as one people and collectively. What is your projection of the next period, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line, in relation to the implementation of peace and the establishment of democracy and returning to the path of development as that we promise our people at independence?
Okay, thank you very much again for this question. Indeed, I'm representing the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, and I'm the current chair of the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, which is a party to the agreement. Yes, there have been obviously challenges with the implementation process, but we in SAWA, we have come to this process with a different attitude. We have decided to put the country first. And we are saying, at least for this transitional period, the next 3 or 4 years of the peace implementation, let us focus on restoring the country. Let us focus on putting the country first, on putting the country to the path of development. And let us focus less on partisan politics, okay? Because of the background, because of the history, because of the context in which we are, it is very, very important that we spend the first few years to building trust among ourselves. Okay, trust between the different parties, trust between the different political players and principles in the country. And I think the last 2 years have given us this opportunity, as South Sudanese, as one people, to say that, look, this is our country. No one will come from anywhere else to put this country right rather than ourselves. Okay, and it is okay. Can you center it? It's okay.
Yes, sorry, we are back now. And the last thing you were saying is nobody else is going to come and restore our country. So you can finish from there.
Yes, yeah. So it's us, to really put our country back together. It is us to try and, deliver, the peace dividend that we have been promising our people since 2005. They have not yet, started to enjoy the peace dividend we have promised them. Okay, and they're still waiting for us to do that. And I think it is our collective responsibility to ensure that we deliver on this very important national, promise. So as we, continue, with implementation, slow as it is, I believe this is really the better option, the better alternative to any other thing. It's a better alternative to continuing the war. It's a better alternative to, any other really options that people might be thinking of. So we need to persevere. We need to persevere, and we need to move on steadily, but surely. And we need to pull the country together. I think it is happening. And as we go on, to the next, year, I believe, we'll be able to restore peace, to consolidate the peace in the country, so that those who are still in neighboring countries, those who are still in the IDP centers, can go home and resettle and, restart their lives again in their motherland.
Oh, thank you very much, Honourable Josephine Lagu, South Sudan Minister for Agriculture. Thank you very much for talking to IBC.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.